Hi, everybody. I'm Viviana with Carson Nielsen. We're both from the Live Realty Group here in Central Alberta. We get together every Saturday, Sunday, and we just kind of talk industry stuff. So thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks, guys. Today we were talking throughout the week, and this has been ongoing for a while, so it's kind of a late subject, but we have a lot of migration from Vancouver and Toronto. And so we really wanted to talk about other areas of Alberta that you can move to outside of Edmonton and Calgary, and what we have as far as Red Deer, Sylvan Lake area has to offer.
Yeah, we're both transplants.
Yes.
So both being transplants, it's nice to be able to tell other people about our experiences as well, because who better to talk to than people who have actually made the move.
Absolutely.
And established themselves in this community.
Yeah. I don't remember what year you moved here, but I do remember that you are a Surrey girl.
Yeah, that's a cheap shot there, but I'll let that one go. Yeah, I'm originally from Surrey, and then I moved around downtown for about 10, almost 15 years, actually. I've lived in Burnaby, I've lived downtown Vancouver, downtown Calgary, and then I made my way into Sylvan Lake in 2018.
2018. I moved out here in 2006. I found Sylvan Lake when I was working in Alberta. I was working up north in Fort McMurray in the oil sands, I should say. And I found Sylvan Lake and I loved it. It felt like home. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of Harrison Lake, BC. It reminded me of Penticton, BC. It's got a lot of nice
charm.
Yeah, it's got all the shops and the pubs along the lakefront. You walk along the lake. It's really a great area, and I absolutely fell in love with it when I moved here. Then I had the opportunity to move to Alberta, and I was like, where am I going? Sylvan Lake is where I went. It's got the lake. Being from BC, I'm used to mountains and lake, and Sylvan Lake has got a bit of both. I mean, the lake's right there. Mountains are a little further away, but it's an hour and a half drive to the mountains. It's 3 hours-ish to Banff, and it's great. When I need to get to the mountains, I can go.
Yeah, I like being near a body of water as well, because Alberta and the prairies in general, I mean, I'm not used to the prairies and I'm not used to the arid, flat land. Mind you, Alberta does have the Rocky Mountains too, but you're just not used to it. Mm-hmm. And so to transplant yourself somewhere where you're like, wow, this is just completely different. At least that body of water feels like, home mm-hmm. in a way.
Yeah.
Feels familiar.
Yeah, Sylvan Lake is really great. It's a smaller community. When I moved here, it was about 5,000 people, and I've been here since almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. Give me a couple more, and it will be 20. And it's grown from 5,000 to 20,000. So I've seen it. Like when I first moved here, there was nothing open on Sundays. So like Sundays was a shutdown day. That was my day off. So it was a little bit of a struggle when I first moved here. But now, there's a Walmart, there's a Canadian Tire. Nothing extravagant like in the cities, but it's still got what you need.
Yeah, it's got everything you need.
Yeah.
If you think in terms of like small towns dotted across Alberta, where like our proximity to Highway 2, you're so close to the corridor. You can just go up or down or wherever you need to go. And you have everything there, whereas a lot of the other small towns are so much smaller. Yes. You have one restaurant, you have one shopping, grocery shop, you have one of each.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking for, I guess, a mix between big cities and little towns, like Sylvan Lake might be that place for you. I know, like you said, Calgary or Edmonton, hour and a half. It's an hour and 15 minutes to the airports either way. Yeah. So, that's great. If you want fancy dining, the cities are right there. Weekends are no problem. Red Deer's 15-minute drive. There's a Keg. I mean, I know the Keg's not super fancy, but it works for me when I need a good steak.
My lifestyle is a little bit different.
Yeah.
It was a culture shock for me because I really enjoyed bar hopping. I really enjoyed craft cocktails. I really enjoyed trying out different cuisines from different ethnic backgrounds and things like that. And so Calgary, with its crazy awesome foodie scene, I would say it's even better than Vancouver. Mm-hmm. And then coming to a small town after that was like, oh.
A bit of a shock.
I was just so disappointed because you ask people, where do you go for food? Like, what's the best restaurant? And they point you in a direction and say, go there. It's the best, X. And so you go there and you're just like,
Food snob.
I know, I am a food snob. I will never trust anybody when they say, this is the best restaurant in Central.
I've never considered myself a food snob, but since working with you, my food
Palate?
my palate has risen a little bit, but we do have the Bamboo Hut in Sylvan Lake, and those were the brothers. I believe they won Iron Chef Canada.
Yeah.
And
Iron Chef or Master Chef? Do you remember?
I don't. It's one of the two. It was a big deal.
Something really cool though.
Yeah, it was a big deal. And then they opened a place in Sylvan, they opened a place in Red Deer, and it's good food. It's legit good food.
We do have good food. I will say I probably frequent 3 restaurants here.
Yeah. I know I have one that I really like, and I know you don't like it. No. But then there's that new one that opened up, and they're fantastic. Amazing food. Lighthouse. Yeah. Like really good food.
Family run, everything's homemade, everything's fresh, which is great. So I really like that, and I appreciate stuff like that too. I like the home style cooking and all that kind of stuff. It's just a different demographic out here. If you were to try and open up, and I know many people try and open up restaurants and have them survive, like niche restaurants in this certain sort of meat and potatoes demographic, doesn't always fly. No. And so I totally understand that. And, I understand why we don't have such a diversity. But in Red Deer, even, we've got like a great Filipino population. They've got little bakeries, little stores. So that kind of reminds me of home as well, which I really like.
A Jollibee.
Yes, and there's a Jollibee too. Yeah.
There's a large Filipino community in central Alberta. Little bit of Asian community, not a whole lot.
Southeast Asian, absolutely. We've got pockets that are growing. Yeah. I think our population actually grows on average 3.5%, almost 4% every year. Yeah. Last 5 years, we've grown 7.7%.
That's crazy. That's got to be the housing affordability, I think, that's driving a lot of people to this area.
What was COVID too, housing affordability, interest rates, all that kind of stuff that kind of helped.
I know Calgary and Edmonton, great places. I love them both. In Alberta, you kind of have one favorite over the other. You're either pro Calgary and anti Edmonton, or vice versa.
Which do you prefer?
Oh, I prefer Calgary.
Me too.
I do. I just love Calgary. It's the Bow Valley. The mountains are right there. To me, it's just, I really like Calgary.
Yeah, I like the way the city is set up.
Yeah.
Edmonton feels a little rougher to me every time I go there, but I still frequent Edmonton on a regular basis. Edmonton
feels a little bit more industrious than Calgary does, and Calgary feels a little bit more tourist, I guess.
Yeah.
Or just a little slightly more relaxed.
Yeah. I think I feel safer in Calgary too.
Than Edmonton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And only because like you said, industrial, like I feel like it's a little bit rougher around the edges. Yeah. But living downtown Calgary, I felt a little bit safer than when I was, putzing around downtown Edmonton.
Well, and not only that, but Edmonton is a little bit colder than actually it's substantially,
it is colder. Yeah.
It's substantially colder than
they don't
Calgary
get the schnooks.
Yes, than Calgary throughout the winter. And we're lucky enough, we kind of mimic Calgary's weather.
We get the Chinooks up here every once in a while, like the tail end of it kind of thing.
What was it yesterday? I think it was like +0, or maybe it was like just -1 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like we really want to dispel that myth too. Like it's cold in Alberta for sure. The temperature wise, it's, can get up to -45, but it's a week long at a time. Not even a week long. It's a short amount of time. And then the rest of the winter, it's like -10, -15. But here, it's so dry and arid here compared to the Vancouver that it's the same. It feels the same as if it was -5 or -10. Yeah, not even, or even -10. 0 in Vancouver. That's why you see people in Alberta in shorts and t-shirts hanging out. Yeah, when it's -10. Yes. If it's sunny out, and it's sunny all the time. It's sunny all the time here compared to Vancouver. It's so beautiful out here. Yeah. Like seasonal depressive disorder out there is a huge thing. I know that I got really depressed living out there when it's just gray and wet, and I haven't had to use an umbrella since 2014 when I moved to Alberta. Speaking of umbrella, I remember the last winter I was in Vancouver, it had rained 28 days straight. I was actually from Maple Ridge, and I believe it rained like 32 days straight. That's rough. Rained all day, no stoppage. But the only reason that they wasn't called 32 days was because it didn't rain at the airport, and that's where they measure the precipitation. So it's kind of silly, but so it was raining in Maple Ridge, but it wasn't raining in Richmond. Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah. No, Sylvan Lake is so beautiful. Like even in the wintertime, everything is covered in snow. It's so peaceful. You see the little ice fishing shacks when they get the
ice rinks going, and
Yeah.
and you see like people playing hockey, kids figure skating, hockey, whatever. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it's so inviting, it's so warm. It's like that small town charm that you see in pictures when you just
Like the Norman Rockwell
Yes,
paintings, right?
yeah,
Like, because
yeah.
they do ice fishing tournaments in the winter. They have the dragon boat races. I mean, it's not Norman Rockwell, but they have like ice car races and sled races and all things like that.
ice
And
car races,
ice car. I don't know what the right word is. Cars is racing on ice.
snowmobiles.
No, legit cars on ice, studded tires.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The first time Jerry took me on, we were in his, what was he driving? Like a 1-ton Ram.
Yeah.
Took me, like, oh, there's Marina Bay over there. There's the town over there. And I was like, where are we? Like, you're just driving all over the place. He's like, yeah, no, we're on the lake.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What a trip.
It's way different. It's for sure. It's a different lifestyle out here.
Yeah. So just so people know, I grew up as basically a city girl. I did not grow up, going to lakes in the summer and all that kind of stuff. I didn't grow up in a recreational, I don't know what to call them, families that do like camping and recreational activities in the summertime. That was not my family at all. So that's not what I'm used to. And now that I live here, I have all of that available to me.
Yeah. I am very much, when I was younger, I was very much an adventurous person. I was skiing, I was boating. I never sled. I never got to go snowmobiling, but boating, skiing, hiking, all that stuff. And so I still get to enjoy all that stuff here. It's all right there. And some of the best skiing, like Banff, go a little further and you're in Revelstoke.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's really great area. You do have to travel a little further than if you were like in downtown Vancouver or things like that. But
I kind of like the travel. Like I like road trips. I'm a road trip person.
I do love road trips
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk about affordability too. Like outside of Calgary and Edmonton,
It's so affordable here.
like Calgary is starting to catch up to Vancouver and Toronto. Not quite, but like a 4-bedroom, 2-story house with an attached garage. The benchmark price now is like $900,000. Whereas you can do the same thing. Mind you, the house is a little bit smaller by like 80 square feet, which is minimal.
A closet.
But a 4-bedroom, 2-story house in Sylvan Lake or Red Deer, the benchmark is $520,000, $545,000.
Yeah.
So
yeah, your money
super
goes
affordable.
a lot farther in central Alberta than it does obviously in the cities, right? And then, you get into like the even smaller communities and it can get cheaper still. But really it depends on your lifestyle, what you're expecting and what your lifestyle kind of includes. Do you have kids? Are you a senior? Do you have pets? Do you have lots of pets?
Yeah.
Are you looking for more of that nature lifestyle? Or are you looking for like amenities and creature comforts? I'm a creature comfort person and I can still live here. It was a big culture shock for me to begin with. And I'm not going to lie to, my BC and Ontario buyers when they come here. I'll tell them my story.
I love living in Sylvan Lake because it's just so much more peaceful. There's no, like, you're not in a rush all the
Way
time.
more relaxed.
The traffic, I mean, like, oh my God, I had to wait for 2 cars to turn left.
That's
like,
me. It was so busy. I had to wait for 3 cars before I turned left, and then there was another person, and he didn't use his blinker.
Yeah. Right?
I love it here.
So horrible, the traffic out here.
No, I love it. You don't have to worry about Deerfoot. You don't have to worry about the hen day. You just,
Well, not only
everything's
that, but
accessible.
like, people still stop for you to cross the street, like just driving down the street, not at a crosswalk. If somebody sees you, I know when I see somebody walking, I stop, let them cross.
That actually drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's hard. That's actually a big adjustment coming from the city because you're so used to darting in between vehicles that you feel like you're intruding on them if they stop.
Well, no, I get annoyed, and I shouldn't even say this, but I get annoyed when people like stop for people like in the middle of 47th, and you're just driving along, and you're like, why did this car in front of me stop? And then they're letting some person go.
Oh, you still have the big city girl mentality.
No, but listen to me, okay? So if I didn't know that there's like a person walking across, I could very well just change lanes and keep going, and then I would hit somebody.
Well, that would be a bad idea.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. If you stop following the rules that everybody else follows in the city and you just do whatever you want in a small town, I feel like that, okay, danger zone.
Danger zone.
But I'm getting used to that now, and now okay.
It's just it's a more of a community feel here than you're going to get in the bigger cities. So if that like peaceful, quaint, establishing roots, getting to know people, if that's really important to you, I think, Sylvan Lake, even Red Deer can present an option to you. There are quite a few things to do out here, and there's all the amenities, and it's far more affordable.
There's a ton of stuff here considering how small the town is. Like you said, we do have a Walmart, we have Sobeys, we have a No Frills, we have, what else? Canadian Tire. We had a ton of stuff, and we've got a ton of restaurants. We've got...
On top of that, there's a ton of lots available. There's five budding communities that are still in development.
Yep.
So you could pick a lot and build a house. There's some really great builders out here. So you don't even have to just settle for what's there. You could establish a network with one of the builders and build your dream home and build exactly what you want. It'll take you about 6 months.
Yeah, I think Sylvan Lake's population is going to grow much faster than just 3.5% per year.
Yeah, with everything getting so pricey and Central Alberta that it hasn't quite reflected on the growth as the scales that the bigger cities have. So yeah, there's opportunity here.
I'm curious to see what it's going to be like in 10 years from now. I think the joke is that like 40 years ago, you can pay a person to live in Sylvan Lake.
Yeah.
And then when people started catching on that like, hey, there's a lake, it's beautiful, it's actually really equidistant between Calgary and Edmonton, and it's good, if you're working, you don't have to go too far south, because if you have to go too far north, then, it's like a 10-hour drive to work. But yeah, I think that people are slowly catching on to how great our little town is.
Yeah, it's got everything you need. It really does.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, either city's an hour and a half away. Like, you can what, day trip? Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I love it here. Like, I really do. It gives me kind of a mix of everything. You don't have a plethora of one thing, but you got a mix of everything.
Yeah. I hope for more diversity soon, but
It'll come.
I want a TNT. I want an H Mart. I want all that stuff.
Yeah.
Give me all the Asian food. A lot of people asked me before they moved here about crime, because I think Red Deer gets a bad rap for being like one of the highest crime rates in Canada. Before I moved here, I checked out that crime statistic and I was like, oh, we're number 4, or like, I think it was number 2 or something like that. And you actually delve into the statistics and it's not violent crime. It's
Petty crime.
Yeah, it's property crime. And you're like, oh, okay. You look at the little crime map and you're like,
oh, somebody stole somebody's bike. They
Oh
took
my
the
gosh.
change out of
Yeah.
my neighbor's car.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Do you lock your car doors and your house doors?
I lock my car doors all the time because for that reason, people go in and will take your stuff.
But that'll happen in any city, anywhere.
But you lock your car, and I can't say there's no smashed windows, but there's not a lot of smashed windows. Like, there's not anything visible in my car, so it's pretty okay. But I do that purposely so that people don't go in my car. But if I got to go to the grocery store, I don't lock my front door. I just go to the grocery store, get my stuff, come back.
Paul doesn't lock his house door.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. John doesn't lock the house doors either.
Yeah, why? You don't need to.
Well, I don't know. I grew up in Surrey. I lock everything.
Yeah,
literally lock everything.
Well,
keep it safe.
same thing with me. I used to lock everything too, but when I moved out here, I didn't need to lock things anymore. It was pretty easy.
I guess you've been here longer than I have. Like, I still haven't really transitioned into that small town mentality where I think, like, I know that this town is safe. I know that. Like,
Yeah.
there was a car that exploded behind my house, like, a couple of years before I moved down here. But, like, you come here and you're like, wow, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
If somebody's walking down an alley, you hear about it on Facebook before anything, whether or not that's right or wrong is another story. But
Most of the crime, honestly, like
it's mischief.
if I was to guess, most of the violent crime, if there was any violent crime, it really tends to come with the people from the cities that come here during the summer that are bar hopping and bar clubbing, and it's drunk, physical altercations. It's like, it's not like people are going around and like robbing people or anything like that. It's always just a drunk altercation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Not always, but I would say the majority of.
I would say there's like a very, very, very small percentage of violent crime that we hear about, like the doctor in Red Deer. This was 2 years ago. That was like shockwaves through Central Alberta.
That was a really big deal.
That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
That was so sad.
Yeah.
So the majority of it is not violent crime.
Yeah.
And like, it's petty theft, and sometimes we'll hear about cars that got stolen from Sylvan Lake or trucks that got stolen from Sylvan Lake or Red Deer that end up in Leduc.
Yeah. Some druggie on the run.
Carstairs. Yeah. And they always find them, or usually always find them.
I mean, all violent crime, and not all, a lot of violent crime is drug caused in some way or another, drug related.
Yeah. Speaking of drugs, we get asked that question as well. Like, what's the drug scene like? Is there a lot of druggies? Are my teenagers going to be, you know, getting caught up in that? Is there a risk of that? I feel like there's a risk of that anywhere.
There is.
But I don't know. Our population is so small. Like, if you look at the proportions, I think the proportions might be a little bit larger because it's a small town, and people think like, well, there's not much else to do. But
so I was going to go on that too, is like, there are quite a few things to do in Sylvan Lake in the summer. There's always the lake, there's surf, like wakeboarding, almost any, like, you know, somebody who has a boat in Sylvan Lake and you can be out on the lake anytime. There's golf courses everywhere. There's hiking nearby. There's a lot of activities. We have a collegiate baseball team that runs throughout the summer, so there's always ball games.
Yeah.
So we are at that point now where there are far more things for people to do other than being bored and doing drugs and getting high.
our lake is probably one of the cleanest lakes in Alberta. I would say like top 2.
Yes, it is. It doesn't
Debate me. Debate you.
So there's Ghost Lake, which is a cold mountain-fed lake. Like, that's a cold lake and a dam, really clean. Then there's, like, I think it's Wabbamum. Alberta Beach might be a more popular name.
Is that like a stagnant lake? Is that river fed? Is that spring fed? Do you know?
I don't know enough about that lake. All I know is it's a larger lake, and that's where a lot of people from the north go, like Edmonton and all that, kind of go there for their summers. They come down here for the summers too. But yeah, this is a huge hot spot in Alberta. A lot of people come to Sylvan Lake over the summer. I mean, I believe our population kind of triples over the summer.
Yeah. All that Wabbamum Lake says is that it's very safe to swim. The lake is ranked as one of the top 5 best lakes in Alberta and is very clean.
There you go.
They have a huge dragonfly population.
Cool. That means there's no mosquitoes.
Yes. The one thing I don't like about Sylvan Lake, well, I shouldn't even say this because I live in the cottage area, so it's kind of my fault, the location that I'm at. But the closer you are to the lake, the more spiders you get.
Yeah.
So if you don't like spiders, you should not live there.
Yeah.
Or you should at least prepare yourself and get the green, what are they called? The sprayers.
Oh, Buzz Boss.
Buzz Boss.
Yes.
Shameless plug, I guess, but Buzz Boss, I mean, they keep everything away. It's so crazy, and it's like a garlic spray too.
Yeah, it's all natural. I use them, and we're not plugging them, but I use it on my properties to keep the mosquitoes. I have a wetter backyard that collects moisture over the melt, and then I get a lot of mosquitoes back there, and so I've used Buzz Boss to minimize that. Minimize spiders. It minimizes everything, and it's all natural, so it's not harmful.
Yeah, I guess I'm now more used to spiders, so that's a positive that came out of me moving to Sylvan Lake, because before that I was just a wiener.
There's one thing I will talk about this. If you're worried about bugs, just be aware that when you come into the Sylvan Lake area, I want to call it an infestation, but it's the wrong word. It's just there's a very big population of one kind of insect. It seems like every year, and it seems to roll over. One year it's mosquitoes, next year it's spiders, the year after that it's dragonflies. And dragonflies is my favorite season because they eat all the other insects, so there's only dragonflies.
And they're pretty.
They're weird when they buzz your head, but
they're pretty to look at. Like, I don't mind dragonflies.
No, dragonflies are good.
No, we have a micro ecosystem. The ecosystem is very sensitive to changes. Yeah. So any sort of changes, I think, in temperatures and whatever's going around, we'll see different populations of different bugs. I think it's cool.
The other cool thing about having this really great clean lake that everybody comes to is the weather. Because we do have in Alberta, we have some quick weather changes. Like, we'll get some hailstorms or we'll get a lot of thunderstorms, which is really awesome. I love thunderstorms. But the lake, for whatever reason, seems to break that up slightly.
Yes.
So the storms kind of just go around the lake.
Yeah.
Outside of that, but typically in June, the temperature changes and all that, you have a thunderstorm every afternoon. So a thunderstorm will come in, we'll get rain for like 20 minutes to an hour, and then it's sunny again. Yeah. My favorite time of year, honestly, is June when those thunderstorms come in. It's cool. I love watching the weather.
That's awesome. I don't love the weather patterns like that when I'm not dressed properly for it, but yeah, no, it's such a cool
nature thing.
Event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really cool event. I like I like that Sylvan Lake is spring fed because it's so clean. We don't get that blue-green algae that you'll see in the other lakes in Alberta.
Right.
So like my dog can go into the water. My dog can drink from the water. I mean, Sylvan Lake, your dogs aren't really supposed to be in the water, so don't tell anybody that my dog goes in there. But, like you can actually swim in it and you're not going to get sick. My dog's not going to die if he drinks from the water after a really long walk.
But there are
along the
dog
shore.
beaches in Sylvan Lake where your dog's allowed, is there not?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. They did a poll. I think this was a couple of years ago. They did a community poll and they said, okay, we're planning like dog access. Where do you think it should be?
Yeah.
And it was like, is it by the marina or is it by this? You want to keep it away from humans kind of thing. And I think all the dog owners were like, we don't care. We just want one. And everybody else was like, well, where do you put it? So
Yeah.
I think that idea got shelved during COVID.
Oh, okay.
And they never revisited it. But that's a good topic that I'll bring up at the economic development community.
Yeah, there's plenty of dog parks too, like off-leash dog parks.
Yes, love them.
There's-
Extensive walking trails, which is great.
Yeah, it's very community-minded. I mean, I know I'm being repetitive again, but I can't really talk about it enough because that's kind of where the mentality is.
Yeah.
Central Alberta on its own is really community-minded. Like I'm going to plug Blackfalds now. I mean, they have it's a small community. I don't even know what the population is.
Less than 9,000?
I would bet it's like 7,000 would where I'd ballpark it, but it's got those 2 community centers. They're really doing a good job of using their tax money wisely to bring what's necessary in for a community, for a well thought out city.
Yeah, even their developments like parks, green spaces, all that kind of stuff, the walking, accessibility.
Yeah.
Not even just walking, but like accessibility everywhere. I think it's really well planned out.
Yeah.
Yes, good job
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Sylvan Lake, I mean,
Sylvan Lake is transitioning.
golf is a big thing. I know you like to golf.
I love to golf. I don't get out near as much as I want to, but
Nobody
yeah,
does.
There's like Golf and Country Club, Sylvan Lake Golf and Country Club. There is Meadowlands. My favorite one is Lakewood Golf and Country Club. My favorite golf course. It's a 9-hole course, but they've expanded to 18. I don't know if it's ready this year or next year, but it's right there. I love it. Alberta Springs, which is a massive, massive, beautiful golf course.
so nice, yeah.
There is Spirit Creek, which is like a campground and a golf course. It's very little known, but it's a pretty fun golf course as well. And then not to mention the big ones in Red Deer Golf and Country Club, Riverbend, which is another favorite of mine. And then it goes up and down the highway. Like there's just golf everywhere out here.
Yeah. What do you think some of the cons of living in a small town, like living in Sylvan Lake? Maybe not Sylvan Lake specifically, but like living in a small town, and you and I both come from larger cities.
Cons is access to anything you want. Like when you live in a big city, you can get access to almost anything you need at any given time. Mm-hmm. You don't get that here.
My biggest culture shock when I moved to Sylvan Lake was that everything shut down at like 9.
Yeah.
I moved August 20th here. And I was like, all right, let's go for food. We're so hungry. We just moved. And it was a Monday night. And like literally nothing was open for food.
My biggest pet peeve is breakfasts in Sylvan Lake.
Yeah.
Like I miss like Calgary is loaded with great breakfast places.
Yes.
And so there's like 2 or 3 restaurants in Sylvan that serve breakfast, but the pubs only serve breakfast on the weekends, even though the majority of people in Sylvan Lake go to the pubs for regular food. And I just really miss a variety of different breakfasts and being able to go to multiple places. Like I really would love to have a mom and pop kind of breakfast place where you can get breakfast from 8 a.m. till 2 or even 6. I don't know what happened to that. Like restaurants opening at 6 so that you can have breakfast before you go to work. And here we have like 8 a.m. breakfast openings. It's like, aren't you already supposed to be at work?
Wah, wah.
Yeah, well, you asked me about my con. That's
Well,
my
that's
con.
what I'm saying. I share the wah wah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wah wah.
I thought you were telling me I was a whiner.
No, I'm the biggest whiner. It's fine.
So yeah, that's my big one.
My biggest con is that, man, I guess this is a double-edged sword because I am saving a ton of money. I guess I've gotten better at online shopping, but I miss shopping.
Yeah.
I've saved so much money since I've moved to Sylvan Lake because I don't shop for clothes, I don't shop for shoes, handbags, None of that.
I don't share that one with you because I've never shopped other than for clothes.
I guess you're male, so yeah. And our Sephora is very tiny in Red Deer, so that's like the, whatever. Anyways, I've saved lots of money, so that's good.
Yeah.
And like you cut down on the consumerism because I feel like, you move to central Alberta and your lifestyle sort of changes from consumer, fast-paced, living downtown, got to get work done, make money, entrepreneur, blah. And then you move here and it's like, you know what? Nature, enjoy it.
Yes.
This is what life is about. Yeah. Like serenity, peace of mind, mental health, like, yeah.
That's where I was saying I love it so much because it's got a mixture of everything. Does. Not the shopping.
I know. I'm like,
but for real, I can go an hour and a half shopping to Calgary.
Yeah.
And like when I lived in Maple Ridge, I was still an hour to go downtown Vancouver for shopping for good clothes.
Yeah.
You didn't shop in Maple Ridge. I don't even know if you can shop in Maple Ridge still. So yeah. I know it's big. It's so crowded and I'm so glad to not be in the crowds. That's the biggest thing about moving here.
Yeah. I love that there's no traffic and you can get where you want to go without the fuss. Parking isn't such a big deal like when you're downtown Calgary, downtown Vancouver looking for parking.
Please.
Yeah, I don't miss that. I guess the only other con would be, okay, so shopping.
Food's a con. Not just breakfast food.
Yeah.
But there's a lack of really
creative, well done, skilled food.
Yeah.
Yeah. If skilled food is a word.
Well, I don't know, but Sylvan Lake is very much pub food.
Yeah, with the exception of
there's a couple good,
2 or 3.
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
But the variety is not there.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I miss like variety. That's another thing. Like for small towns, you don't get a lot of variety in a lot of things. Business owners are small business owners. They're usually mom and pop. It takes a lot to start a business.
A lot.
And it takes even more to maintain that business. So, like I wish I had dance studios to choose from.
There is a new dance studio out here, but you want more.
It's for children. It's not for adults. There maybe is, I think, like one Zumba class or something. Actually, I should look into that. I shouldn't say that. But the majority of their classes are for kids. They're not for me.
I'm pretty sure the sign says for all ages.
Maybe I should look into it then. But I wish there was more variety is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like if there was adult technique classes or like whatever. Anyways, we're going off topic. Yeah. But variety for shopping, variety for clothing, variety for food. The other thing that I noticed when I moved to central Alberta is that when you go into a coffee shop, you're waiting probably more than double for your order than you would in a big city. The big cities are all about like efficiency, fast, let's get this done, pump it out.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that's because in Sylvan Lake, the person who is taking your order is the one who's also making the coffee.
Yep. And that goes to small businesses, right? Yeah. Like to make the small business work and balance your food costs and your labor costs, you really have to be an owner operator and be hands-on. Or you have only one person working as opposed to 3 people working, where you can get away with that with the volume of sales in a bigger city. Yeah. So that was kind of a shock, but I understand why. And you just have to be a little more patient. And you learn to grow to be more patient when you're living here.
Yes.
Because the lifestyle is totally different.
Anyway, guys, thank you for watching us and listening to our ramblings about what Central Alberta is like. Very personal experiences, and we just wanted to give you a little bit more variety on, outside of Calgary and Edmonton. There is Central Alberta.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're looking for more in-depth on what our stories are and what our experiences were, maybe they'll parallel yours, give us a call. We'd be happy to chat. Absolutely.
Yeah. Let us know what you think and let us know what your questions are. We will respond and we'll help you out.
Bye.